Hey, what's up, everybody? Truth Seeker here. We're doing another follow-up with Jay Nygard, the turbine guy.
We've been sued by our neighbors and also counterclaimed by the city for supposed zoning violations. But what it's turned out to be is we have just counterclaimed the city for the 7 years of retaliation that we have suffered, me and my family, due to the city and the neighbors going after us.
And we have your lawyer here, Erick Kardaal.
Jay Nygard simply wanted to make an argument that Orono couldn't ban small wind energy conversion systems, wind turbines. He wants to get people off the grid, when Minnesota has a statute saying that you have a right to have a small wind energy conversion system of your property owner. And so it all started with a bunch of lawsuits between the city and Jay sued back and blah, blah, blah. But in the end, Jay won. Jay won that he had a right to have a small wind energy conversion system, and Orono's ordinance banning small wind energy conversion systems on residential lots was thrown out. Okay, so that's not why we're talking today. That's old news. Jay's a winner. But what happened when Jay challenged the law was the law and order people at the city decided to retaliate against Jay in like 100 ways. There were police visits on property code issues, like where's your jet ski? You're barbecuing hot dogs and the smoke's coming on your property. They were sending things over because things were misplaced in his yard, his front yard, so forth. He had dozens and dozens of squad car visits with no explanation, because usually city staff deals with these. And he was targeted. He was targeted with three meritless criminal prosecutions. One was for trespassing. It was dismissed without probable cause. One was disorderly conduct. 2-year litigation, had to go to a jury acquittal. Third, he had another trespass one that was withdrawn. And so and there's more. They blew sewage back in his toilets.
Wow.
Blew up his toilets all over the place. He hired a cleanup agency to clean it up, and he submitted the receipts for the cleanup. Anyone else would have got immediately paid. Jay had to go through litigation to get repaid the $500 to clean up his bathroom. Well, meanwhile, the mayor, before he was elected and a city council member, he had formed a neighborhood group that was against Jay, and they hired a former FBI agent to run a misinformation campaign in Orono, calling Jay a child abuser, when they knew from Jay and his child, who was adult, there's no child abuse at all. So they ran a negative campaign. They ran a fake campaign against him about his background and character. Jay's never been convicted of anything. Kendall's never been convicted of anything. The FBI agent that he hired was meeting with the Orono police chief and his assistants or whatever to bring charges against Jay for child abuse when there was no evidence of that. It was all just a big misinformation campaign. The mayor would come down to the Nygards' house, and he announced to Mr. Nygard, Mrs. Nygard, I'm going after your mortgage. I'm going after your wife's job in Ameriprise. Jay, I'm going after your business, as you already heard. I'm going to go after your children at school, and we're not going to stop until you leave Orono.
Yeah, well, my company, guys, right, is Go Green Energy, right? That's what I do. So the mayor in 2016 formed a company called Go Green Energy LLC Corporation, as a mirror and imitation of my company.
It is just totally insanity right there.
The guy is on the council, and he's filing something like that in order to help run me out of business.
Jay spent that extra day in jail, and then these city council members and mayors confirmed that basically the word of the city staff was, leave Jay in jail. And that's retaliation. They're leaving him in retaliation for the purpose, leaving him in jail for the purpose of retaliation, to retaliate against him for his free speech activities. It's just extraordinary. The last thing they did, this is the big one, was that Mayor Walsh was trying to get through the council a resolution that they would go after the Nygards property criminally and civilly. They had already done it multiple times, as I mentioned to you, but he wanted a resolution to single out their property. Never in the history of the city.
In perpetuity. In perpetuity.
Yeah, the city council talked about a single property. They always talked about property generally and let the staff and the prosecutors work out, voluntary compliance or whatever was going to happen. So it was the first time they'd singled it out. And it was so targeted that this was really when the council members figured out that this was very, very wrong. And his motion failed 2-2. But then when he got enough votes on the council and he was in a position, he negotiated with the neighbor to sue the Nygards for an injunction. So the Nygards had to follow all the property codes and, lots of little laws. And he sued the city too. The neighbors sued the city too, saying, you city have to apply the property code against Nygards in perpetuity, forever. And then the city, rather than dismissing the foolish claim brought the neighbors against it, the city brought the cross-claim against Nygard. So in the lawsuit right now that we're counterclaiming, the city has sued Nygard for a court order that they can go to court anytime the Nygards violate a property code issue, and they can they're not a contempt proceeding. In property codes like driving regulations, right? The idea is the neighbor would be watching the Nygards, and rather than having to contact the city, would contact the court and the city, and the Nygards would be back on contempt proceedings. And this was intended to drive the Nygards out of town. It's so obvious. The big difference in Jay's case and everyone else's case is that the former mayor, immediately former mayor to the current mayor who retaliated, and a former city council member and another former mayor, two mayors of the city and a city council member, are saying, yes, the city targeted this guy because of his First Amendment activities. It was the wrong thing to do. This guy was so committed with his neighborhood group that they just went after him in every way they could. And, so now we have city officials saying that the mayor and the city retaliated against the Nygards for their advocacy for small wind energy conversion systems. I sat with them in depositions for hours and hours and hours, and they detailed exactly how the police retaliated, the city staff retaliated, the city council was retaliating, and the mayor was retaliating. And so this stuff goes on all the time. But once we have government officials coming forth as whistleblowers and nailing these guys, we can win. We can win the right to sue our government and not be retaliated against.
Here's how much they retaliated, folks. This is 2011 through 2016. This is only what I've been able to get out of them.
And so here's how retaliation works, guys. One, you have to have someone participating in constitutionally protected activities. And so the first part of the complaint talks about that the Nygards participated in advocacy regarding Orono and Go Green Energy, basically saying we want to have small wind energy conversion systems. It's all protected activity. You can petition your government for change, and you can do that through lawsuits. You can do that through making arguments at political rallies, whatever. The second of the three elements is, were adverse actions taken by the city against the person exercising the constitutionally protected activities? So about 50, 60 pages of the complaint are just detailing the adverse actions the city took against the Nygards over the years of their First Amendment activities. Okay, so adverse actions, and then we have the constitutionally protected activities. And why is it so sort of easy to prove those elements? It's because the U.S. Supreme Court is very concerned about retaliation, and that's a good thing. And they've even said, this is a famous case regarding municipal jobs, if a city were to say, look, I'm not going to give you, employee, a birthday party because you're liberal or conservative or Republican or Democrat, that's a First Amendment retaliation, even if you're not entitled to a birthday party, because they're chilling your speech. So you see, the key element is the third element, and that is proof that the adverse actions were taken to chill the First Amendment advocacy, right? Of course, right? So here we have that in spades because the officials testified. If you would go down further, I'll show you. It's a third element in the complaint. Okay, see, it says here, Orono's adverse actions were motivated by the Nygards exercising their constitutional rights. So in the typical case you guys have come across, and I want you to help me identify cases like this nationwide, and this is why this case is important, is that in the typical case you don't have this evidence. So let's go down to what the evidence Jay has. Let's just go, for example, to 343. This is former Mayor Gabriel Jabbour talked to Walsh at Bistro 11, Loretto, Minnesota, and asked Walsh to quit bickering with Nygard. The mayor laughed. You haven't seen anything yet. You don't know me. But let's go further down.
Wow.
There's some block quotes on the next page, and we'll get right to it. 346. Orono targeted Nygards because the Nygards sweat advocacies. Here's what Mayor McMillan said, the immediately former mayor. You know, my point is that that's what I saw. I saw this vendetta against the Nygard family, strategies of how to get rid of them, how to harm Kendall, and just we need to get rid of them. We need them out of our neighborhood. So here you have a mayor saying that this was purposeful and that the activities were done by the city against the Nygards in a strategic way. Levang, the next one, and I thought his agenda all along has been to get to a place of power where he could take care of his neighbor, his problem neighbor Nygard, and that was one of his main goals, and I never saw him waver from that position. This is the mayor of Orono taking a position he's going to get rid of his neighbor, and that was his main goal. Here's another one. Have you ever seen the council single anyone out like that? No. Another one. Let's see, it says before, never, and I was astounded, by the targeting. And another one, and for Nygaard, so Nygaard was sort of singled out for different treatment here by Walsh. I would agree to that statement. And then the last one, and definitely there were other neighborhood issues, but they never ramped up to this caliber, and they were not this kind of treatment where someone is singled out.
So
one of the former mayor called the group at the city hall a group of hyenas going after the Nygards with these different adverse actions.
wow.
I mean, this is just horrific. I mean, the guy who stood up for his rights, and then the city just goes berserk. I mean, it gets attacked by city police and everyone.
There's a certain place that I the more I go through this and look at it and hear about it and stuff, I still say that they're threatening the shit out of him, and that's wrong. Now, it's 2018, and there's schools that are like prosecuting children over bullying. What the hell happened here? This
is adult bullying.
Does Minnesota have any? I mean, do you guys have any laws about bullying up there? Are you guys doing something active in the school districts? Yes.
Well, it's not so much that we have laws against what's happened. Unfortunately, unfortunately, the local police department has chosen to not only not take my police reports about threatening my family, chosen to not act on other police reports, and I still have bullet holes in the windows of my house that the police did a one-page report and said there's nothing they can do.
Meanwhile, there are 20 to 25 reports by police officers regarding property code violations. Where's the jet ski? Where's the clothesline? Where's the flagpole?